What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hawk Talk on Melrose YouTube page, where we are going to talk some Hawks. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends. That is all we ask, and let's roll. All right, here we go. Another episode coming your way. This is Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin, joined today with Tyler. Going to do something a little bit different on this episode. Normally, the second episode of the week is all about the previewing of the next game, which we will get into, don't get me wrong, but we are not going to focus on the Troy preview for the entire episode like we normally do. So I guess if you're here to just listen to that, that will be more towards the end of the episode where we will preview and predict that game. And there's other topics that we need to discuss here after losing to Iowa State. So let's get right into it. We're going to first talk the quarterback situation with Cade McNamara and Brendan Sullivan and kind of my thoughts on that. I want to hear what you have to think about what I'm about ready to say, because we ended last episode talking about like, where do we go from here? And we could pretty much put the playoffs on hold. I don't think that's going to happen. And on record, going back to before the season, I really didn't think this team was going to make the playoffs. I even said it on one of our episodes. I said it's going to be a long shot. Now, the hope was that we would make it. And if there's any year to make it, it would have been this year with the schedule and with the players coming back. But, you know, I kind of said we're probably going to have to go 11-1. I know we when Colby was on, we were discussing, 10-2. And I was like, I don't think 10-2 is going to make it. But anyways, so what I saw on Saturday, though, regardless, and things can change, but this team is not a playoff team. Even if we want to discuss, like, could this team maybe make the playoffs at the end of the year if we run the table, or if we, even if we lose against Ohio State, is this a playoff team? And what we saw on Saturday, it's not a playoff team, because you don't lose to Iowa State like that, especially when you're up at home. You just don't do that. If you're a playoff team, that doesn't happen. And it's not because of the actual team itself. It's not a playoff team. It really comes down to the quarterback, Cade McNamara. And he led a team to the playoffs 3 years ago with Michigan, but that's a different Cade McNamara. That's a prior, pre-injury riddled quarterback. And in this offense, we're not asking you to do a whole lot. The Shanahan offense, go watch the 49ers with Brock Purdy. They don't ask Brock Purdy to be like Lamar Jackson. He just needs to make the plays here or there. But at the end of the day, it's all about the run. It's all about getting the run set up. You look at the other night against the Jets, that's exactly what they did. They had some drives where I counted like it was all runs besides maybe one or two passing plays. But Brock Purdy, and why he does such a good job for the 49ers, is when he is asked to do like one or two things, he actually does a pretty good job at it. And with Cade, you go back to the Iowa State game, there was like a couple plays that it's like, dude, this is all we're asking you to do. And you got to deliver. Other than that, like, that's all we're asking. We're not asking you to be the hero. We're not asking you to put the team on your shoulders. We're just asking you to make a few plays. And 3 plays in particular against Iowa State, he did not deliver. The play to Luke Lachey that got intercepted. Yeah. Once again, you can say it's a bad play call, but once again, if it works, then we're all cheering like, wow, what a great play call. But regardless, Cade, why are you throwing that ball? Why are you throwing that ball? The one to Caleb Brown. I'm sorry, but the more I rewatch that game, it's not talked about enough, but that was a missed opportunity. He throws that ball in stride. That is a touchdown, game over. Instead, he underthrows it, and he so badly underthrew that ball that it looked like it was covered really well, and it should have been intercepted. But if he would have thrown a better ball, that would have been a touchdown. And then there was another play where he missed Reese Vandersee. It was like a 3rd and 11. We were backed up. He was open, and it was a bad throw, and Reese couldn't catch it. And who knows what we would have done on that drive? We probably would have punted at some point, but you would at least move the chains, and it's all about sustaining drives. I mean, that's what we talk about. So the point being made is it feels like so far, and once again, it's a small sample size. We've only been 2 games, right? 8 quarters total. But Cade's only had 3 good quarters. The 5 other quarters have not been good. And it's not like we're asking him to do a whole hell of a lot in this type of offense, in the Shanahan offense. You just got to make some plays here or there. And so far, he has not delivered that. And I know, once again, it's only been a game, but the Iowa State game is a huge game. It determines a lot of things. It almost kind of like I said, it feels like the season's kind of over with, which in all reality, it's not. But that's how big that game was. And it's like, dude, you're 24 years old. You're a power four D1 quarterback. You got to make some plays here or there for us. And he just didn't deliver. And underthrows, just things like that. And going back to last episode, I'm starting to lose my patience with him.
Yeah, Colin, I was watching another podcast and I think they brought up a really good point. And they were like, all Cade really needs to be in this offense is kind of like the point guard, right?
Yeah.
Just get the ball to the playmakers, get the ball out quick, get the ball out on time. You don't have to be, the MVP of the team. You just gotta make the thing go. And I feel like he struggles to be consistent with that. I think there's moments where he's done a good job. We saw it in the first quarter, I thought, of Iowa State. I think he came out and looked really good. And then all of a sudden, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, he's really inconsistent is the big thing. After the Illinois State game, and I said, you have to, take this as it is Illinois State. So don't overreact to that because it is not a very good team. But I thought he answered a lot of the questions that I had going into the season is if he can be, consistent, accurate, get his confidence back. I thought he did that. And then I don't know what that was in the second half of the Iowa State game. Credit to them. They did a really great job. But you would think with Caleb Johnson running the ball with 187 yards, it'd take a lot of pressure off of Cade. And I think it did. But every time he was asked to make a play in the second half, I mean, you know the numbers. It's 3 completions, 2 interceptions. Like, it's bad. And those are the type of numbers that it's hard to sit there and be like, with the team, like you just mentioned, the team that we think we have, a team that, in all honesty, should be competing for the back end of a playoff spot, you would think realistically, if possible. That's not going to do it. And you're exactly right. And you have another capable quarterback on the roster. Yeah, I don't think it's too early to start asking those questions, knowing what's still ahead of us, that some of these games are still winnable, but they're going to be tough. And if Cade can't be consistent throwing the ball, like, yeah, he's a senior. I get it. Loyalty, all that. But like, man, we keep going through the same thing with him. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, the once again, the offense, the Shanahan offense, it's all about running the football. And man, we have done it so well so far this year. Like 2 weeks ago when we were
That's the thing. It's
preparing
not like we're not running the ball and he's struggling. We are running the ball great.
Yeah, and he's still kind of struggling. Going back to this summer, I kept saying I want Cade to have one final good year at Iowa because this is his last year. Unlike Brendan Sullivan, like we get him next year again. This is it for Cade. And I want one final good year with him. I want him to be able to look back and be like, I'm so glad I went to Iowa. And so I'm not necessarily calling for Cade's job yet. I just think that you have to give Sullivan a chance. And this next game is the perfect game to just bring him in there and just see. Because we are in a very vital part of the schedule now with the loss to Iowa State. You got Minnesota next week, which is going to be a way harder game than maybe anticipated because it's a night game on the road, right? First road game of the year, Big Ten, night game. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And then you get a bye week, but then you have to play at Ohio State. And then you get Washington at home. So it's a tough stretch. And we got to get this quarterback situation figured out. But if you can get a quarterback that just is like a Brock Purdy, right? Where you just make a few plays here or there for you, that is what's going to make this offense turn. And
and then the other part of it, and I said it last time, bare minimum, you just can't turn it over. And you pointed it out already. I mean, you talked about it, that the interception, I mean, I watched it again. It's bad. Like, it's a bad interception. You're up 13-0 and you give them all the momentum right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it completely turned. Took the air out of the stadium because you just bare minimum, you run for a few yards, you go down, or you throw it away. You live to fight another down. It was something like first down. And that's that mistake that a senior like you said, that's been in these big moments, big games, just doesn't make. And that's the tough part for me to kind of live down. So yeah, yeah.
Also, on that play, the rollout, I don't know if Cade would have been able to do it because he's not very fast. But if you get a somewhat mobile quarterback, aka Sullivan, he could have rolled out there and he probably could have got the first down just running the ball. If you go back and you watch it, because I watched it numerous times and I was thinking that to myself, I'm like, man, you didn't have to throw that. You could have literally just rolled out and you could have got some yards, especially
More
if you're a
of a
little
run
bit
pass option as
yeah.
opposed to yeah.
And then the more I think about it too, it's like, man, like, can you imagine in this type of offense if we had like a Rocco Beck? Like I was thinking that the other day, like if Rocco Beck was on our team, and I'm not saying that he's a Heisman caliber quarterback, but he's that type of quarterback that just makes plays when it matters most. What we're just talking about. You go back to that Iowa State game. Rocco Beck, he didn't have a good first half, but when it mattered most, the throw to Noel. Now, yes, he was wide open, but it was right on strike. He didn't overthrow him. He didn't underthrow him. Yep. Like it almost makes me wonder, like, would have Cade been able to accurately throw that ball? He was so wide open that the receiver was going to catch it no matter what. But it makes you wonder, like, would have Cade underthrew him where he would have to go back to the ball, or overthrow him where he would have to reach out? And then his two passing plays at the end of the game to set up the field goal, right on the money. They weren't difficult passes, but they were right on the money. And it makes you wonder, would Cade have been able to do that? Would he have overthrown that guy? Would he have underthrown that guy? And that's just a situation where, like, I hate being in this where we don't know, where we can't trust him. Like, I want to be able to have a quarterback where every game I am trusting that quarterback that he is going to deliver. Yes, it might be ups and downs. It might be few bad plays here or there, but they are going to deliver. And the last 3 years, actually, now this is the fourth year, 2021, 2022, 2023, now 2024, we have yet to have a quarterback that we fully trust. And that is what's so annoying. And we got Cade for that reason. Like, we wanted a guy that, like, we felt like, man, in big games, like, they're going to, like, help us get over that step or that ledge. And so far, and things can change. Once again, it's still early on. Cade could get better as the year goes on. But as of right now, I don't see that happening. And I feel like Rocco for Iowa State has definitely taken that next step where, as an Iowa State fan, like you're an Iowa State fan, you can trust that, okay, I feel really good because we have him. Yeah, he might not be good at certain times, but when it matters most, he's gonna deliver for you. And that's just something, as of right now, I feel like we don't have.
Yeah, and the last part I would just add is, like, you feel like with a guy like that, you're never out of it, and they aren't. I mean, if I was in that situation, say the roles are reversed, how confident are you with no timeouts and 34 seconds that we're going to go get in field goal range? I don't feel very confident.
I don't either.
I'm sorry. Maybe that's PTSD from years past. Maybe it's different this year. We haven't, lost the lead till that moment. So, but we haven't been in that situation where we've had to go do what Rocco did. But the point being, like, I don't feel confident that if we don't have that lead, that we're built to come back yet, because, and the part of it is the quarterback play. So it's got to be better. There's no doubt about it. Like you said, there's a tough stretch of games coming up, Collin, where it gets dicey. I mean, that can make or break. I mean, you beat Troy, but then you go on the road, and if, God forbid, you drop one there, I mean, it can derail. The train can derail quickly. So you gotta figure it out.
So point being, with all this being said, I hope Cade can turn it around, right? But I do think, and I don't think this is going to happen because we know Kirk. Yeah. I just think you got to give Brendan an opportunity on Saturday against Troy. Not saying the entire game. I'm not saying for a full quarter, but you got to give him a few drives, right? I think it's fair, honestly, for him. I mean, Cade has not delivered for the most part yet. I think it's only fair to give Sullivan, who actually, unlike the last couple of years, I can understand, right, when we were, Padilla, right, or Joey Labus. Well, at least with Sullivan, like, he's played and he started in the Big Ten. It's not like we're talking Padilla here or Joey Labus or Linez. Like, we're talking a guy that started in 6 or 7 games last year for Northwestern, threw the ball. What was he? Completion rate 70%. He can run. I don't know. Give him a shot. Give him a few drives just to see. I just think that's only fair. And then to kind of transition to the next thing, with Kirk Ferentz yesterday at his presser talking about Cade and talking about, someone asked him, if he's going to continue with Cade, and he's just talking about like still needs, or he's still learning the offense and he needs more time. And to me, I just have a problem with that because I feel like that's not fair for the rest of the team because once again, if there's a year to make the playoffs, I'm not saying we are a playoff team, but if there's a year to make it, it would have been this year with the defense and with the schedule. I mean, come on, think about the schedule. All our tough, really tough games are at home. Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa State. You play one tough team on the road, Ohio State. You miss out on Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, USC. And then you get a lot of first-year head coaches, UCLA, Michigan State, and I'm probably forgetting of some other few, Washington. This is a year to do it. And it just makes me annoyed that Kirk, it's like, dude, we are a quarterback away from being really good. And you keep putting in a quarterback that quote unquote needs more time. What are we doing? Because you have a guy as a backup who at least played last year, right? And is a little bit more seasoned, I feel like. So if he's still learning the offense, if he still needs more time, then what are we doing? Because the Iowa State game, when we knew this going into the year, like week 2 is Iowa State. We gotta at least be a little figured out by then because Iowa State's a really good team, a team that also could win the Big 12 and make the playoffs. We gotta get this figured out. There's no time to wait. And I feel like Kirk just kind of let it, in a way, kind of wait. And I don't know. I just don't agree with that. If he needs more time, still learning the offense, what are we doing here?
Yeah, the schedule, like you said, is everything. And that's where the expectation to, like we just talked about, do something really special this year. We have a lot of players back. The team is, we're all set in stone. And the only question mark, is the quarterback kind of, and receiver, obviously, but the passing game. And it all starts with the quarterback. And you're exactly right. Those comments, unfortunately, like it definitely didn't come off right, I think, to either of us. Cause like, it's like, you're exactly right. It's like, what are we doing? Like, this is a senior. Like, you gotta be ready. Like, I don't like the injury. You're healthy. They're like, there's no excuse there. Like, he's just missing guys completely. Like, and to say he's like, well, he's still coming to his own, he's still figuring things out. No, this is not a year where we're expected to go 7-5 and let's let this sophomore figure things out. No, he's a senior. We've got expectations to do something good. And I know that'll lead into another topic after this about, what we think in terms of his expectations versus maybe our own. But I don't know. It's weird because it's like, you expect more and you're not getting it. And I don't know. It's tough to see it because you want him to succeed, but like, hey, you can't mess around or you're going to drop a game that you're not supposed to. And now we're sitting here week 3 in a bit of a panic and it sucks.
Yeah. Cause we're already 1-1. And it wasn't like Cade was lighting it up in fall camp because we heard multiple times. There was multiple times where there was reports that Cade was struggling, that Sullivan looked a little better than him. Then you get to Kids Day and Cade looks really bad. And Sullivan didn't look very good either, but he at least looked a little bit better than Cade. And so it just makes you wonder. It's like, okay, if Cade was struggling all fall camp or for the most part, and then you get into this season and he's still kind of struggling. Yeah, he's put together a few good plays here or there, but for the most part, going back to what I said, he's played in 8 quarters, 3 of the quarters he's looked decent or good, and 4 or 5 of the quarters he hasn't. You got to start asking the question. And
my question is, what week is he going to figure it out then?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a good excuse.
No.
What, we're going to wait till the middle of the season? No.
And the problem with Troy is Troy's such a bad football team that you might look, he might look really good. Well, that's not going to answer much. I guess if he looks bad, then I think it's a no-brainer at that point because we'll get into the Troy game. Troy is not a good football team. You want to talk about the offense a little bit before the Troy game because I will say, and I know we talked about this like all summer long about how there's going to be ups and downs and that it wasn't going to look pretty all the time. And so far, I know it's only been 2 games. We have been right on that. But I will say that this offense, as of now, I am having a little bit more fun. And I get it. The offense was so bad last year that it's like it doesn't take much to have more fun. But you can see the glimpses of what this offense maybe could be, especially in the run game. I watched a lot of NFL on Sunday and then also on Monday night with the 49ers Jets game. And watching those games, two things. Number one, I guess I never really noticed this or really maybe even cared, but it's amazing how many teams actually run a version of the Shanahan offense. They just might do it a little bit different personnel wise, but all these teams are running like the same type of plays. And it is got, like I said, I never really kind of thought about that. But then number two is throughout the Sunday and then also Monday night, I'd be like, oh, we've run that play. Oh, I've noticed that. Oh, I noticed that play. Yeah. Yep. And so it is cool that we are running a version of that. I just think it's going to take time. And I remember going back to what Tim Lester said to Chad before the season. He said, you know, it takes a while to master it, but once you get it mastered, you have an advantage and it's a good offense. And I don't think that was talked about enough because I think we're still in that process of trying to master it. I think it is a tough and complicated system. And why I bring that up is because I do think the future of this offense, I'm not just talking this year, but I'm talking for years to come, especially when Lester gets some of his own guys. And I do think Sullivan is probably a better quarterback for this system for the future, like next year, 2025. I am excited for this offense. I do think it has the ability to be decent. Is it going to be 49er good? No. I mean, that's just, there's something else. They have the personnel and Kyle Shanahan's just so good at calling plays, but there's glimpses of it being better. And right now, stat rankings, kind of surprised right now. And it's only 2 games, but for total offense, we're sitting at 68th in the country at 397 yards per game, and total offense, and then scoring offense, we're 74th in the country at 29 points per game. So not bad. I get it's only 2 games, and that number's probably going to go up and down, things like that throughout the year. But I think we are off to a good start for the most part. There are things that we still need to work on. The passing game needs to be way better. We need to get the tight ends more involved. We need to get Luke Lachey more involved. There are definitely still question marks. But I bring that up because I do think like I am having a little bit more fun. And I think as this year goes on, yes, there's going to be ups and downs, but I do think overall we will enjoy actually watching this offense a little more than we have had in the past.
I mean, we're scoring touchdowns. It's already a win, right? I mean, you know how hard it was for us to find our way into the end zone last year. I mean, it was brutal. And so, you know, like you said, I think you're exactly right. Like, this offense will get better as the year goes on. You know, I hope we hit our stride, at least in the passing game, sooner rather than later, because like you said, definitely does not get any easier from, you know, post Troy game. But you know, the main thing will be, you know, getting the quarterback situation figured out. And I truly believe, as you mentioned, I believe Cade's going to be the starter going forward. You know, obviously, Kirk's not one to really yank a guy unless he's, you know, injured or really is that's playing that bad and we're like losing because of him. So Cade's just got to be better. I mean, that's plain and simple. I think he has the ability to do it. Just got to play smart, clean football, and that always gives yourself a good chance with Iowa's defensive special teams.
That was my bold prediction going into the year that Cade was going to start this entire year unless there was an injury, because I just think Kirk is so like he just doesn't like doing that. There's been a good sample size of that. All right, Troy preview. We're going to do this real quick here. Troy is 0-2. They're not a good football team. They lost to Nevada at home and they lost at Memphis. They are pretty much in rebuild mode with new first-year head coach. I think he was the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame last year. But offensively, they only returned 2 starters. They have a quarterback that got hurt last game, so he might not even play this game. Offensive line, huge issue for them. Per PFF, they rank 126 in run blocking and 73rd in pass blocking. That's not good, especially going up against our defense. And then defensively for them, They have allowed points on 10 out of their 18 drives, including 9 touchdowns. They have yet to force a turnover. And per PFF, again, their overall grade on defense is 123rd out of 134 teams. So this team is not good. And going back to before the year when we did our schedule difficulty, I actually had Illinois State ahead of them because I did my research and I was like, this Troy team is going to be awful. Like, I actually think we're going to struggle more on it against Illinois State than we will against Troy. With that being said, my prediction for this game, I do think the Iowa State game, we're going to come back. I mean, this is one thing I love about Kirk is he's really good at getting the guys to bounce back and play hard. It's not like the season's over with, and just the culture and the leadership of Cade or of Kirk, excuse me. And you combine that with how bad Troy is.
Yeah.
I think we're going to win. I'm going to go 48-3. I know that's a huge margin. But I think if we can put up 40 points against Illinois State, I don't see how this team is going to be able to defend the run and Caleb Johnson. And I think this is a game that we're going to work on the passing game. I do think we're finally going to connect on like a deep ball. I think it's going to happen now. I think at least one time. And I could see our defense even maybe forcing a touchdown score, maybe Caden Weegan gets a punt return. So I'm not saying all the points are going to come from the offense. Maybe 35-40 come from the offense, but 48-3 is my prediction.
Yeah, as it was rolling off your tongue there, I thought you were going to say the exact same score as me. I have 40-3.
40-3.
So you got me by 8 points. So that's 48 points. I mean, that's a lot of points. And 40 as well. I mean, I think we can get to that number again. You're exactly right. If we can do that against Illinois State, I think you should have no problem with Troy. Troy is not a very good team. Troy is, like you just mentioned, the quarterback situation. I mean, their starter got injured. Offensive line's not very good. Defense, they can't stop the run. And that's what Iowa right now
is doing really good.
Amazing at. And I get you're going to focus on trying to stop Caleb Johnson, but you still got to stop Caleb Johnson, right? I mean, everybody's trying to do that and they can't. They're giving up 200 plus yards on the ground defensively every game. So I see Iowa being able to establish the run early and often. And then, like you said, getting Cade into a rhythm again is and building confidence. I mean, that's all you can ask for. And we said this against Illinois State, and it holds true against Troy. You got to hammer this team. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice way to bounce back after a tough loss. That's for sure.
Exactly. And I think this is a perfect game to just bounce back. You go back to last year against Western Michigan, week 3 after Iowa State, we beat them, started off so poorly, but we ended up putting up 41 points. And that was another reason why it's like, I don't think, and we just talked about 5 minutes ago about how this offense does look better than last year. Now, is it way, way better? No, but you're seeing glimpses. So I just don't see how we can't get to 48 points. Just because of those reasons alone and because of how bad Troy is. I don't even know why I'm giving them 3 points. In all reality, I really don't, because I figured we're, maybe give up one long ball and it sets them up for a field goal. And I always hate just saying, 0 points, but I always give the other team at least
it's very
something.
Realistic.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a big game to bounce back. We need it. Because
it's a feel-good game. You have to.
After this, it's tough, and we need all the confidence, all the momentum in the world. I hope Cade has a great game. I know we were talking about who should it be, and I hope Cade has a good game. I really do. I hope he comes out and lights the world on fire, because that's exactly what we need for this team to get back to where it needs to be and to still have a good season. So, well, that will do it for this episode. We will be back after the Troy game on Sunday, going over that game and anything else that happens. So until then, you guys have a good rest of your week, and go Hawks.